It is rare that I make a video doing a side-by-side comparison to review another product, but I don't think there could be anything more transparent. The TCL QM7K is a good TV, but that's where it stops. Because as you can clearly see to the right, the step-down TCL QM6K has a better picture quality overall for less money. This is where I have the biggest problem. You can see better highlights, you can see better color, richer, deeper color, more expressive color. It doesn't make sense. Now, there are those that say, give TCL some time. They're going to come out with this magical, mystical firmware update that's going to solve all of your problems. To which I can say this, I don't care. I'm reviewing the product now, and this is what it's like now. And there's no guarantee or proof that anyone can furnish to show me that this is a software issue and just not what it is. And so with that as the case, all I can do is say for the people making excuses, stop making excuses and accept the information as it is now. If that changes, update your information. But right now, this is what's happening. Now, again, as you can see in this example to the left, TCL with the QM7 has better color. But again, like I told you guys, it trades back and forth. See, if you look at things like her skin tone, far richer, the yellow, far richer. There are examples where the QM7 is clearly showing an advantage. So again, this with the more washed pale skin tones and everything comparatively to that image, it's not going to look as good. But this is where I have the biggest problem with the TCL QM7. I don't believe that there should be any instance where the TCL QM6 overtakes the step-up model that costs more money. And especially when we talk about brightness, because if you look at the sky, there's significantly better tracking on highlights. It finds highlights and brightens them up a lot better than what we have on the step-down version. Now, again, I don't really care who you are or from what walk of life you're from. Better is better, and we've got to talk about these things. And again, TCL has a bit of a problem in terms of even when we talk about the speakers. If you go to 15 on the TCL QM7, you can't hear the TV at all comparatively to literally just 15 on the TCL QM6. And we're talking about volume levels. It's like you can't hear one and you can hear the other. That kind of thing shouldn't be happening either. I mean, when I look at the picture quality that the TCL QM6 to the right gives me over the TCL QM7, the message is kind of clear. It's that you don't always get what you pay for, and that's a catchy, convenient tagline for corporations to do this, where, yeah, and some examples like now, you'll have better color here and there, but the step-down version doesn't really feel like much of a step-down version. Now, there are those that would argue that this is a testament to TCL trying to recreate what it means to have a budget TV, but in doing that, they didn't create enough of a gap between their 7 series and their 6 series to the point where the 6 series, in a lot of cases, pulls ahead of the 7 series. And especially when I talk about contrast and the retention of color gradients and things like that, it's just not there to the same degree on the TCL QM7. Don't get me wrong, they get more saturated. And if all you're after is pure saturation, then yes. But there are things that do go amiss with details. Now again, in this example, the TCL QM7 does look better to the left, proving my point that, again, it's not software because it clearly has the edge, clearly right here in this example. But it trades back and forth entirely way too much. In this example, it does look better. But again, when you start to watch more varied content, as I've shown with some anime, literally with solo leveling, it does tend to get to be a little annoying because on one hand, it looks great and then it'll look terrible. Now, again, these are all TCL demos, which is why I'm opening this way so you can see like, hey, with a TCL demo, it's destroying the TCL QM6 here. The face looks better there versus there, and the colors are generally better. Now, to be fair, I did put it under the hood and give it some sauce, and if you want to know what the heck I'm on about, I will show you. This is where it started from. If you want, there's vivid mode. Let's go to the accurate mode, filmmaker mode. This is what the TCL QM7 ships like, and it's not fantastic. And to get around that, you're going to need some A settings. And just for parity, this is what the TCL QM6 looks like in filmmaker mode. So comparing apples to apples, the TCL QM6 has way more depth, way more three-dimensionality, way more like in the way of color. If you just look at just the pink even here, look at the pink of the lips, look at the shadows around the nose, it's just the better picture by default. So I really want to drive home that the only way you're going to see an optimized TCL QM7K at this point is with my settings, because so far as I understand, I'm the only one that knows how to optimize these TVs like this, as everyone just seems to leave them out of the box in their default and just say, okay, this is how they perform. Like literally they'll go to something like, let's say, vivid mode by default, and they'll compare it to yet again another vivid mode and say, well, these are the differences. And if you were to do that, then yeah, sure, okay, that is substantially brighter than that, but the picture isn't all that better. I mean, yes, you have a little bit better color here. You can see more warmth. That is trending more towards cool. But it's when you put the extra effort in, right? And you use every feature that this TV has and every feature that this TV has to try to give them their best advantage. And when you do that, this is what the TCL QM7 is going to look like. And this is what the TCL QM6 is going to look like. That is so like ridiculous to say that your budget TV is in that territory. Now, again, it's not in every example, like I've said, that it will look so great for the TCL QM7, but as you're clearly seeing here, the TCL QM7 with TCL demo content looks fantastic. Now, again, similarly to what I was telling you, what happens when we start putting up something more varied than just, again, TCL selected cherry-picked chosen demo content? This is where anime comes in and why I use it. While there might be some stick in the muds that don't know the glory, wonder, and how amazing animes are and how they can truly captivate you, those of us that watch understand that there are just some things anime can express that live action or movies could never. One thing being the artistry, the way it's illustrated. If you look, the shadows are darker, indicating deeper black level on the TCL QM6K, where over here they are weaker on the QM7K. You can also notice this trend continue when we talk about contrast, as that's a sharp line. That's more of a pale line there. We can look at these colors all day, every day, but ultimately speaking, when you get to scenes like this, don't get me wrong, this is a nice image. However, comparatively, the richer sky in the background, the richer trees comparatively to the more pale trees, the nice rich skin tone compared to, again, just a little bit more in the way of a pale skin tone. The TCL QM6 is just a rich TV for color comparatively, is the very key word here, to the TCL QM7K. And even though in cherry-picked demo content it pulls ahead, and real content that is not demo content, like anime, you are seeing these very, very clear differences. And that's where I don't think a lot of people are ready to be honest with you and show you the back and forth exchange that these two TVs would have. And again, it's not in one anime, it is in multiple and quite a plethora. And when you see these differences, you're going to be just as shocked as I am. I mean, literally, look at this day and night, just like I've shown in my last video. And this is what the TCL QM7 is not providing for a step up price point. So again, in one instance, yes, it looks absolutely better, but again, it will immediately get spanked in almost every anime example, more or less, and in other examples as well that aren't TCL demo content pieces to make certain parts and how they engineer their TVs look better. That's what demos do. So that's why I don't like showing demos. And you can't always show movies either, because copyright around that is ultra strict as well. Now, to be fair, to represent everybody, I will show some movie content in screenshot form, of course, just so you can get an idea of what you're dealing with. Okay, this movie is Alita Battle Angel, and when you look, clearly that has the advantage on those bright scenes where you have the water and you have the grass. It does a good job generally. However, if you really have a discerning eye, you'll notice that just the fine details are here. Even like if you look at the background, fine details in the sky, in the background, on the ground, all that's going to be there. It's not as bright or as saturated at all, but that's really the only thing that you're missing, more or less, when you talk about this image. You go to the next one. This focuses way too heavily on saturation. So there you are dealing with oversaturation, where here it's balanced and everything looks correct while still giving you vibrant imagery. You go to the next example, more of the same thing. They see colors, especially red, and they try to tone it up too much. So that gives skin tones a bit of an orange kind of look, where over here you kind of avoid that a lot more. Don't get me wrong, you're able to get beautiful highlights like back here that look amazing, but it's not in every example. Take this example. You can clearly see a very different image now, where this has a very rich silhouette, contrast, shadows, details pop, and it looks more three-dimensional. And then you have the richer colors here as well, while maintaining that natural look to her face, where over here it is a bit just overly bright and overly exaggerated. Again, while not really retaining the depth. The colors are okay, the brightness is okay, but the contrast tends to lack the brighter that gets. And then again, you can go on every example, and again, there are just so many examples where, again, you're seeing natural skin tonality here, but it's just not bright. If it were brighter and still looked like this, it would be great. This is really bright, but it doesn't have all of the details. You can pick this out when you look at things like her neck, the shadows under her eyes, her cheeks, things like that. You can really start to discern an image a lot easier. And again, I don't expect everybody to want to sit here and do this, but you can see a difference in color. The purple now far richer to the right on the step down model versus the left having the better highlights. And again, that's really what it's going to boil down to. TCL, for all intents and purposes, really focused on giving their flagship model just brightness, but not detail. And that is the problem. So for people thinking software is going to fix this with time, I highly doubt it, because I've never in the history of the decade I've been doing this seen a TV manufacturer fix anything that had a problem like this. Usually, if there are issues where there's a lack of contrast, it stays throughout. It doesn't change. They can't re-engineer a television in the way their algorithmic processing works. And if you look, you can see brighter highlights here in the sky and more detail and everything on the step-down model, because while it does not have the strongest highlight capabilities, it is good at using the brightness it has intelligently, where I feel like the brightness here is just stupid. It's wasting it. It's finding little highlights, like if you look in the background, like the little highlight here, the highlight in the bottom corner, you have the highlight in between the building. That is what it's brightening up over this, but this is saying this is a bigger highlight. I need to focus on that. This is intelligent processing as far as I'm concerned, using what you have to get a better picture. Now again, there are examples like this one where it still looks very beautiful and again, seeds what we have on the step down model. I'm not saying that those examples don't exist, but what I'm saying is that they are too few and far between. Like in this example where you can clearly see more color and gradient detail and retention versus what you have on this where it just looks blue. And if you can't see that, I'll go ahead and open up my camera sensitivity to light, also known as ISO, so you can get a little bit more of an idea of what the hell I'm on about. And you can clearly see it. This just has more gradient, more cinematic cyan. The color of the scene is captured perfectly, where this is just a pale, washed out shade of blue. Again, drop it down to where it was before, and you can clearly see it's not every example, again, as I said, where the TCL QM7 or the QM6 will pull ahead. They trade blows too much. And that's the message. It's too much. You should never have the entry-level model trading blows with the mid-range model like this. And that, I mean, it's to the point where, be honest with yourself, okay, in this exact moment. Look at both screens on camera as I look at it and really ask yourself, is there truly a day and night difference between these two TVs to justify, spending a market price? I can't really say that there is. I don't see a point, especially when I know definitively this has the weaker speakers, despite all their claims of Bang & Olufsen. It's going to be really crappy, which I'll show you at the end of this video. But you can get an idea. I mean, and when you look, you can clearly see, just look at it. Look at the highlights are beautiful. But look at this, the detail, the black levels, the lack of black levels, the contrast, everything, the lack of contrast. You lose something fundamentally the brighter that these TVs are getting. And this conversation of brighter, brighter, brighter is hurting picture quality. You are losing contrast, guys. That is what you are losing. Look at the richness. Look at what you're not getting. And this conversation is going to go back and forth regardless of what firmware update you could do or whatever. And it's going to come in different factions of people. Some people are going to be for it. Some people are going to be against it. Me personally, I don't want to lose anything in my image. I want to retain as close to a true to life image as I can get, where I have brightness, but it's not overly done. And I genuinely believe that even though the TCL QM6 is not a bright TV, it is, I would say, what I would call a real to life TV, right? Which is true accuracy, because you can see the bright highlight here where this is just bleeding a bright shade of blue. And it's stupid because you ruin all of the details around. That's the one thing I found on the TCL QM7. There is monstrous clipping that happens on this TV. Now, if you don't know what clipping is the loss of detail or information in your picture quality once a highlight or any level of brightness really becomes too bright. It bleeds through and you lose the detail. Well, if you look here, you have that detail here in the vehicle, where over here it becomes more muddied. And that is not what you want to have happen. Again, this might not bother everyone, but for those who have a discerning eye and for those who like looking at every little detail in a movie, every shade and array of color versus it looking pale and washed out, you are not going to want to buy a TCL QM7 because A, it's more money, and B, it's producing the worst picture consistently for the sake of moments like this where you have bright highlights, nice, beautiful highlighted primary colors, which, don't get me wrong, they look nice. But you really, honest to goodness, are going to fall into two factions of people. The person that wants all the detail in the background and all the detail and everything, or the person that is okay with it blowing out just for the impact of the brightness. And that's really what it boils down to. There's not really much more to these TVs other than that. I think the TCL QM7 tries too hard to over brighten and oversaturate everything to the point where they are losing essential color gradients that they should not be losing, and their cyans and their orange and literally every shade, more or less. I mean, take this landscape, for example. You can clearly see there's just so much more detail in the gradient here. The color transition between blue to green to orange, it's all there, where this is just blue. That's information lost literally from your content because of the stupid brightness decision. I mean, look at the background detail and information. This is a closer image to OLED than this, even though they claim that this is a crystal glow VA panel and all that. And even if you turn down the brightness, you can't fix that. And that's the one thing about the TCL QM7 that I really just cannot stand. So that's this portion of it. Now let's go over to the audio portion to kind of wrap this up so that you guys get a good idea as to what you're in for. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear that, but the sound that you're hearing right now is literally 15, not even, this is 15 on the TCL QM6, okay? 15. And I am like blown away, if I'm being very honest with you, with how crappy the audio quality is on the step-up model. Now, in this example, colors look beautiful, but as I've mentioned, primary colors, especially red, really do shine over the step-down model. So that's something that you do have as a benefit, albeit you do have less detail for the extra brightness and so on and so forth. So again, you pick your poison, I suppose. Now, hear the audio here. This is 15. Now look what happens at 15 on the QM7. It's at 15. You can't hear a thing. Now let's go to 15 on the other TV. Turn it down. This is still, I'm not even joking, this is at 15. Bang & Olufsen sound. Let's see how high you have to ramp it before you hear something. I'd say about 35 before you can hear it, right? And then you turn this up. All you need is 15, and you hear it quite clearly. Turn this up. 15, you can't hear a thing. This is the difference in audio. This is the budget set right here, right? No Bang & Olufsen sound. It's still on, volume's still on, 15 right there, right? I'll put it to 20. You still can't really hear shit. I'll put this to 15. It's 20. See? This is like, this is why I have a problem with this TV. Because it's like, you're not getting a truly premium experience the way you should. And again, the colors do look beautiful. Again, pinks, reds, like in this example, gorgeous on the TCL QM7. Wonderful. Okay, I'm not going to deny that. The highlight detail, wonderful. I could never deny it that. And that is how I can tell everybody watching, this is not a defective panel. This is not a software issue. This is just what it is. There are trade-offs you have to make when you want certain things, I guess, from TCL. And unfortunately, they need to revisit the way that they are going about programming certain things. Because I'm sorry to say, you might have good brightness, but you're not providing a premium experience for those customers that want a premium experience. That is as black and white as I can tell you. I hope this finds you guys well, and this is information that you apply to your television purchase. If you have questions, let me know in the comments down below. I personally would wait for maybe the step up QM8, QM7, or QM8K model. The QM7K model from TCL is just not up to the task, in my opinion. I think it's good, and if you want a bright TV, then great, go for it. Otherwise, save the money and go for the substantially dimmer television with more detail, or wait for the Step Up 8 series, because as you can clearly see, that's all pale right now comparatively to that. That is the budget model that's going to be $500, $600. Why would you pay more for that? I don't have a justification for it, and I never will. Thanks for watching the #1 brand in honesty, and until the next video, I'll see you guys later.